Hello, everybody. I know no one's watching here, but still. So, let's here talk about this is macroeconomics lecture number two, everything to know from A to Z. So, let's talk about four sectors of an economy. All right. Okay. So first is there are following sectors. So there are household sector, producer sector, government sector, and external sector, which is inclusive of net exports and net imports. So let's talk about first the household sector. So it has 3 points. That is households. What are households now? So households are the individuals which participate in an economy who by purchasing consumer goods, and they have the ownership of primary factors of production. Now, what is an economy? So economy is a system or an arrangement where various economic activities takes place, such as consumption, production, distribution, exchange, and investment. So it is an area or a region where there are well defined laws and an institution to implement these laws. Second was that the consumers purchase consumer goods. Now, what are consumer goods? So let's talk about goods in detail so that it will be clear in future. So, what are goods? So, goods are anything which satisfies human wants. So, there are two types of goods in an economy, that is final goods, intermediate goods, and consumer goods and capital goods. So, let's talk about final goods first. So, final goods are those goods which have crossed the boundary line of production and are ready to use. And there are also of two types, final consumer goods and final producer goods. So, final consumer goods are those goods which are ready to use for the consumers. For example, bread, the clothes that we wear, a dress, an umbrella that we might use, right? And final producer goods are those goods which are ready to use for the producer. For example, a tractor to cultivate his field. Now the expenditure on final consumer goods is done by households, obviously the consumers, and expenditure done on final producer goods are by the producers. Now let's talk about intermediate goods. So intermediate goods are those, and these final goods, noted, these final goods are involved in the estimation of national income. Now intermediate goods. So intermediate goods are those goods which are within the boundary line of production, and they are used either for resale or as a raw material, and these are not ready to use goods. So these goods are used for the further production of other goods, and these they get completely exhausted by the production of other goods or for resale, right? So the value of intermediate goods are ultimately involved in the value of final goods, and intermediate goods therefore are not included in the estimation of national income in order to avoid double counting. And if you need to know how exactly it avoids double counting, let me know, text me, and I'll let you know, right? And it is also known as intermediate goods, intermediate consumption, and intermediate cost. Now let's bifurcate between two, final goods and intermediate goods, on the basis of raw material, resale, boundary line of production, value, and estimation of national income. So first let's talk about raw material. So intermediate goods may be used as a raw material for the production of other goods, but final goods will not be used as a raw material for the production of other goods, because they are complete goods and they are ready to use. Second is resale. So intermediate goods could be resold by the firms for profit, whereas final goods will not be resold by the firm profits, because of the same logic, they are ready to use goods. Boundary line of production. So intermediate goods are within the boundary line of production, whereas final goods have crossed the boundary line of production. Value is yet to be added in intermediate goods. More value has to be added, but final good may value is not to be added in final goods. Why? Because value is already added. These goods, intermediate goods, are not included in the estimation of national income, whereas final goods are included in the estimation of national income. Now let's talk about consumer goods, which is most important because households purchase consumer goods. Now, what are consumer goods? So it refers to those goods which are directly used for the final satisfaction of human wants or households, right? And these are not used for any sale in the market or for any commercial activities, and these are for four types, that is durable goods, semi-durables, non-durable goods, non-material goods, or services. So let's talk about first durable goods. So these goods are of relatively high value and can be used for several years. For example, furniture, TV, AC, fridge. Now let's talk about semi-durable goods. So these goods are used for 1 year or slightly more. For example, shoes, clothes. We have to buy clothes every year, right? Or in 1.5 years they get used up. Non-durable goods. So, but our parents treat clothes as durable goods and use them for 20-25 years. So, hats off to them. Non-durable goods. So it refers to those goods which are used in single act of consumption. These are also known as single-use consumer goods. For example, food, petrol. Then next comes non-material goods or services. So these are the services which are directly used for the final satisfaction of human wants. For example, services which are provided by teachers, by maids, doctors, and etc. Now let's talk about capital goods. Now capital goods refers to those goods which are used in the process of production for several years and are of high value. These are the fixed assets of producers and also involve depreciation. For example, machinery. These goods are used for the further production of other goods and in the long term period, that is equal to or more than 1 year. Now let's talk about investment in this. So investment is the process of capital formation is the process of increasing stock of capital. So capital stock implies production capacity of the producer. So larger the capital stock is with the producer, greater is the production capacity of the producer to produce more goods and services. Now in types of investment, let's talk about. So there are fixed investments, so which is change in fixed assets, and inventory investment, which is change in stock, that is closing stock minus opening stock. We will take an example further, and summing up these two will give us gross investment, and subtracting it from depreciation, it will provide us with net investment. All right. Now here is one more concept of real investment and financial investment. All right, so any addition to stock of capital is known as real investment. So real investment can be real, which okay, and any addition to capital, that is money, which can be used to produce capital goods, is known as financial investment. It is also known as savings. For example, investment in fixed deposits and bonds, which creates generates more money so that we can produce capital goods, we can buy capital goods. So it is known as financial investment or savings. Now real means anything commodity, purchasing power, or any service, whereas nominal is a value which is attached to real, and monetary means everything in monetary terms, money terms, right? Now let's talk about the significance of net capital formation. So net capital formation enhances productivity and scale of output. It increases the productivity of labor, it provides us economies of scale, and it enhances employment as well. Okay, thank you.